Hello and welcome to you, scholars. If you're coming back to join us, welcome back. And if it's your first time, thank you for joining us at the TME Virtual Library. We are in the middle, at the end of an awesome book called Tales of Fourth Grade Nothing by author Judy Blume. This book is so good. Judy Blume is one of our principal favorite authors. I keep telling you, I know why, because she's a great author. This book is good. So it's about, you guessed it, a fourth grader named Peter Hatcher. He has a little 2-year-old brother who seems to be to him just ever increasing problem for him. His name is Fudge, is what they call him now. And yeah, he is quite the handful. So in chapter 8, they both went to his dad's job, and the client, his dad works for the advertising agency, the client came out and wanted Fudge to be in a commercial. The boy, they had a hard time getting him to do what he needed to do. But he did it, and the commercial turned out pretty great. So it's really good. So now we jump right into chapter 9. Put your listening ears on. Let's see what happens next, okay? Just another rainy day. The next day, it rained. My father asked me how I'd like to go to the movies. Just me? I asked. No, all 3 of us, he said. Fudge is very young to go, I said. Don't you think so? Maybe, but I can't think of anything else to do with him. And that will take up a few hours. You could give him some socks, I suggested. You know how he loves to play with your socks. Socks won't last the whole afternoon, my father said. That's why I thought of the movies. What do we see, Dad? My father checked his New York magazine. A Bear's Life is playing in the neighborhood. How's that sound? What's it about? I asked. A Bear's Life, I guess, my father said. It's rated G. I was thinking of a good western with lots of action, or else a picture rated R, where you can get in if you're under, where you can't get in if you're under 17, unless you're with your parents. But my father had made up his mind. A Bear's Life it was. I suggested that my father get Fudge cleaned up, because by then he was looking kind of messy. I don't think my father even put him into the pajamas last night. He's been wearing the same polo shirt ever since my mother left yesterday morning. Oh boy. By 1 o'clock, we were ready to go. All 3 of us wore our raincoats and rubbers, and my father took his big black umbrella. One thing about New York, it's hard to get a cab when it's raining. But the movie theater wasn't very far away. My father said the walk would do us all good. There were a lot of puddles. It was really pouring. I like to walk in the rain, especially if it isn't too cold out. It feels nice when you wet your face. I jumped over the puddles. My father avoided them too. But now Fudge, he jumped right into every one and splashed around like a little duck. I bet he did, guys. By the time we got to the movie theater, the bottom of his pants were soaked. My father took him into the men's room. He stuffed a bunch of paper towels up each pant leg, so Fudge wouldn't have to sit around wet. At first, Fudge complained, but when my father bought him a big box of popcorn, he forgot all about his stuffed pants. Right after we got settled in our seats, a big boy sat down in front of Fudge, so he had to change seats with my father. Now he was on the aisle. I was in the middle, and my father was on the other side. Uh-oh. Fudge is in the aisle seat, guys. When the lights dimmed, Fudge said, "Oh, dark!" I told him, "Be quiet. You can't talk in the movies." "Okay, Peter," he said. That's when he started throwing his popcorn. At first I didn't notice, but I wonder why the people in front of us were turning around every second. Then I heard Fudge whisper, "Pow, pow, pow." I saw him throw a handful of popcorn. I poked my father. "He's throwing his popcorn," I whispered. My father reached across me and tapped Fudge on the leg. "If you get one more piece, I'll take it away from you." "No throw." Oh, he said it loud. "No throw," Fudge said very loud. "Shh," the people in front of us said. "Shh," Fudge said back to them. You see, I told my father he's too young for the movies. He doesn't understand. But from the moment the first bear came on the screen, Fudge sat still and watched. After a while, I forgot all about him and concentrated on the movie. It was much better than I thought it would be. It showed all these bear cubs and how they live. I'm not sure. When I realized Fudge was gone, I guess it was When I turned to ask him if he had any popcorn left, I'd already finished mine. I was still hungry. I was really surprised to see he wasn't there. I mean, one minute he was sitting right next to me, and the next minute he was gone. Hey, Dad, I whispered to my father. He's gone. My father asked, Fudge, he's in his seat. My father looked over. Where'd he go? I don't know. I just noticed he was gone. Get me out, Peter. I'll find him. Should I come too? I asked. No. You sit here and watch the rest of the picture. You should put one line at the candy cane. I stood up to let my father out. I wondered what my mother would think if she knew Fudge was lost in the movies. A few minutes later, the picture stopped. Right in the middle of the scene, the soundtrack trailed out like a broken record. I guess it went skrrr. All the lights came on. The audience let out a groan. Some kids called, boo, boo. Then my father and two ushers and a man in a suit came over to me. He was sitting right here, my father told me, pointing to the empty seat on the aisle. Well, the man in the suit said, we checked the restrooms and the office. He's not behind the candy counter. We'll have to search the theater. He cupped his hands around his mouth and shouted. Let's see. Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? We'll continue our film in a moment. First, we have to find a 3-year-old boy answering by the name Fudge. Some people laughed when the man said his name. I guess Fudge does sound funny if you're not used to it. I thought, maybe he's been kidnapped. Would my mother be mad? That crazy kid, you can't even take him to the movies. Then I thought, we want to kidnap him anyway. What should I do, Dad? I said. Why don't you walk up and down the aisle and call him Peter? Okay, I said. Here, Fudge, I called, starting down my aisle. I sounded like I was calling the dog. He does, huh? Come out, Fudge. When I got down to the first row and called, here, Fudge, he popped out at me. He scared me so bad, I yelled, oh! Hi, Peter, he said. Hey, I found him. I called, I found him. Here he is. Then I turned to my brother. You dope. What you doing way down here? And why are you sitting on the floor? Want to touch the bears, Fudge said. But bears are all gone. He spread his arms out and said, all gone again. My father and the ushers and the man in the suit ran to us. Fudge, my father said, scooping them up, are you all right? He wanted to pet the bears, I said. Can you beat that? Well, I guess we can continue the picture now, the man in the suit said. He cupped his hands around his mouth again. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Our young man has been found safe and sound. Now we return to the conclusion of A Bear's Life. My father carried Fudge back to our seats. He held him on his lap for the rest of the show. Guess he wasn't taking any more chances. Later, when we got home, my father explained to Fudge that movies are not like TV. It's just a picture. There's nothing to touch. Fudge listened. But I don't know whether he believed my father. I had a feeling he still thought those bears were in the theater somewhere. I made up my mind that I would never take my brother to the movies. Never. At least not until he was 9 or 10. My father said he was going to cook something special for dinner to celebrate finding Fudge in the movies. I thought that was really strange. Because as far as I know, my father can't cook anything. He doesn't even know where my mother keeps the peanut butter, the dishes, or the pots and pans. Looking for him, I was there to show him. What are you going to cook, Dad? A super duper omelet, he said. Omelet? I'm not sure. Me and Fudge like omelets. Feel like this one, my father said. Humming as he gathered his ingredients together. Give me one big frying pan, Peter. Okay, I said. I gave it to him. He melted some butter in it. What's going in the super duper omelet? I asked while Fudge sat on the floor, banging 2 pop covers together. Well, the eggs, of course. My father said, omelets are made of eggs. And what else? I asked. Oh, I think I'll make a mushroom omelet. Eggs and mushrooms? I said. Yes, you'll love it. I'm not so sure. You'll see, Peter, my father said. I sat at the table while my father cooked. I even put Fudge in his booster chair. When the omelet was done, my father brought it to us. He was still humming. That's some big omelet, I said when I saw it. It filled the whole frying pan. How many eggs did you use? About a dozen, my father said. Mom only cooks one at a time, I told him. When you taste this, you'll know why I use them all. You mean it's that good? I asked. Go on, my father asked as he served me. Taste it. I took a bite. It was awful. The worst thing I ever ate in my life. But my father was standing there grinning at me. I didn't want to hurt his feelings. Well, he said, it's nice, I told him, swallowing a chunk. Washed it down with a glass of milk. You see, your mother ought to experiment more. Then you've learned to eat a lot of different things. I don't think Mom ever made a mushroom omelet, I said. My father put some on Fudge's plate, then he served himself. Fudge shoved a lot into his mouth. I waited, figuring he'd choke on it. Instead, he said, oh, good. My father beamed. Fudge wasn't smart enough to fool my father, so he must have really liked it. But a kid that could eat flowers and swallow teeth wouldn't know much about omelets anyway. Then my father sat down and tasted his super duper concoction. He not only choked on it, he spit it out. Oh no, he said, this is awful. Something went wrong. Maybe the eggs are rotten. Mom just bought them on Thursday. I said, maybe it's the mushrooms then, my father said. Maybe it's how you cooked it, I suggested. My father jumped up from the table and threw the mushroom omelet into the garbage. Fudge started to cry, want more, more. No, my father told him, it wasn't any good. Fudge screamed, eat it or wear it, eat it or wear it. He flung his spoon across the room. It hit my mother's favorite plant. The dirt spilled all over the kitchen floor. Now you stop that, my father yelled at Fudge. I'm going to make us nice peanut butter sandwiches. Then you're going to have a bath. Your mommy's coming home tomorrow, and we're going to show her how well Daddy managed all by himself. Peter, where does your mother hide the peanut butter? After supper, my father bathed Fudge. The only thing he decided not to do were the dishes. He stacked them in the sink and left them for my mother. Wow. On Sunday afternoon, we drove out to the airport to meet Mother's plane. On the way there, my father said, wouldn't it be fun if we kept all the things we did over the weekend a secret just between the three of us? Kind of a man's secret. I agreed not to say a word, and my mother was so glad to see us that she didn't even mention the dirty dishes in the sink. 6 weeks later, we were watching TV one night. The new Title Bite commercial came on. That's me, Fudge said. My mother looked up from the book she was reading. He does look like you, Fudge, but that's not really you. Oh, yes, Fudge said. That's me, see? My mother squinted and looked harder. You know, Warren, she told my father, he really does look like Fudge. Then she laughed. Imagine another little boy like Fudge. It's Fudge all right, I said. It's Fudge all right, my brother repeated. We didn't tell you, dear, my father said. We thought you'd like to be surprised. But that is Fudge. What? My mother said, like she couldn't believe it. You see, Mom, I began. Remember that weekend you went to visit Aunt Linda? Then I stopped. Thought about all the things my mother didn't know. Like the clothes Fudge splashed in, and paper towels up his fingers. And he wanted to touch the bears, and the mushroom mama, and Mr. Vincent, and the big cigar, and Janet, and her goldfish crab. And I looked at my father, and I started to laugh. So did he. The end. That was a good chapter right there. Boys and girls, thank you for stopping by and enjoying chapter 9 with me. Be sure to come back next time when we finish the book. I think chapter 10 is the last one. It's been a great book. Wow. You're gone from me. Make sure you're reading, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for stopping by. Bye-bye.